Mario, Portal, Doom, Mega Man X. These games are known for having great tutorials, but the best tutorial I've ever seen was from my first VR game, First Steps, basically the Oculus Quest tutorial. It's weird because it's not a game tutorial, it's a platform tutorial, a virtual reality headset, and I don't think I ever seen a platform tutorial before. Once I finished setting up my Quest 2, the first thing I did was open First Steps. Everything went dark, the game was loading. When a blue screen appears, a light comes up and explodes in front of me. Then that same light starts to fly behind. That's when I turned to look and the forest was forming, with a low poly waterfall. Suddenly the waterfall disappears, the light shoots to the ground and explodes, create a new environment. I'm in the bottom of the sea with a giant whale. As beautiful as the whale was, I kept looking at the light. It was my guide in that blue/purple universe. Another explosion, I'm in the city looking at some buildings. Another explosion, now I'm seeing a bridge with balloons in the sky and a mountain in the background. All this made the intros to show that in VR I can have a 360-degree perspective. It's not like a monitor as I was looking at just a flat screen. Even in a first-person game I wasn't the character that was living that story. Even though the game tried to make me believe it. So before continuing, I ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to receive new videos. If possible, leave your like because this helps a lot in the growth of the channel. But now, I'm inside this world and the world is around me. This is where the boring part should start because they need to explain to me how to use a VR, how to use the Oculus Quest. I look down and now there's my hand holding the controls, but I didn't even care. Right away I had a surprise.
Boas-vindas ao Oculus. Após este tutorial, você poderá
O tutorial tá em português. I live in Brazil. Oculus does not officially distribute the products here, so I had to import my Quest. The tutorial was in Portuguese. Not Portuguese from Portugal, it was Brazilian Portuguese. And just to make it clear, Brazilians don't speak Spanish. Guardian system. This is what will save me. I've played a lot after playing this tutorial, and Guardian really saves too much. If I hit the wall with it, imagine without it. And the wall in Brazil is made of bricks, not paper. So I hurt my hands and not break the wall. I've tried to teach my girlfriend how to play games a few times, but there is a barrier that is too big to overcome. Almost every game these days takes into consideration that you know at least something about video games, which makes the act of initiating someone into this universe very hard. There are almost 20 buttons on the Xbox controller, each button serves a different thing and different games. There are also... And there isn't always a good tutorial to explain. The ones I mentioned at the beginning are old and we end up remembering them. It's the exception when it should be the rule. So Oculus teach me about the control. It's magical to see a virtual hand make the same movement as my real hand. The tutorial tells me to push buttons, test the analog, press the analog, use the triggers and the claw buttons. A quick and simple tutorial to get familiar with a bizarre type of control. It's still weird to see a virtual hand without it, holding the controller that I'm holding in real life. But the control had to go, for me to learn how to make gestures, learning to point, to fight people in the future. I even do the pointing gestures and touch the headset because I don't know, I feel like VR makes everyone a lot dumb, which is wonderful. Catch, a simple verb from our daily life, but needed to be relearned. As I played, I kept thinking that this must be how a baby feels when learning to walk, a feeling that a world of possibilities open up before his eyes. In the case of the baby, the feet, in my case, the new hands. I spent about 20 minutes playing with the objects, the cubes, the ping pong rackets, the planes, the rocket was the coolest, and the airship. Throwing a cube up with one hand and grabbing with another hand is so simple in real life, but it was so complicated to do in VR. The table tennis paddle is also impressive, it works just like a real one. The ball physics, everything is bizarre. After testing it with the ball, I wanted to put a cube in the racket, and it worked. That's when I took the racket and went across the table. Everything went flying. The airship is interesting because it shows you how to use the analog. Throughout my life as a gamer, I realized that the analog is the biggest difficulty for people to play anything, including many people stopped playing when they started to have analog in the controls. At least this happens in Brazil. It was natural for me to learn to use the analog. My first console was a PS2, but I found it interesting how it worked for my girlfriend. I realized that she found it easier to use the Quest analog than with a normal controller. This all has to do with the airship. It works just like a remote control car/plane, so it's very easy to understand which direction the analog is going to take the airship. But the rocket is the coolest, just because it's a rocket. And the first object I interacted with two hands, one holding and another pulling the rope. Obviously I want to throw the rocket in my face to see what happens, nothing happens, I don't know what I was waiting to happen. There's that punching ball too, this one is less impressive, just punch it, goes back and forth. The most impressive thing yet is the table tennis racket, but the coolest is the rocket, because it's a rocket. Rockets are cool. After play with these things, unlocks two new minigames. The first is a shooting minigame with 3 options. 1 gun and 2 guns is exactly what you're expecting, point and shoot, but the most interesting is the third, a weapon that needs to be held in 2 hands and stretched. It's interesting that it shows how a 2-handed gun would be used in other games. This entire tutorial would be nothing without the previous games that set this standard, which makes me think why we don't have this kind of tutorial on traditional consoles. There is a video game language, but it's implicit. Everyone knows that the A/X is the jump button, the right trigger is the fire button, the left is the aim, the bumpers are usually accessories, the left analog is the movement, the right is the camera. It isn't time for a tutorial on how to use a controller on PlayStation and Xbox, but I think that's a subject for another video. And to close this tutorial, you dance with a robot. It's simply genius and makes you live with a smile on your face, ready to try new experience. And that's exactly what your tutorial needs to do. So, taking advantage of this cliffhanger, what do you recommend for me to play in VR? Quest or PC VR? First steps, what's my first step towards virtual reality? And it couldn't have been more perfect. We are usually as used to games as they are and we don't think about how to improve the experience for new players. First steps is a platform tutorial and everything there feels magical. The simple act of picking up a block, throwing it up and catching it with another hand generates a whole different level of immersion. This is an experience that I want to share with everyone. And you can be sure that whenever I have the opportunity, I will put someone to play this tutorial. So, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. I don't know how to speak notifications, so activate the bell. Yes, bell. If possible, leave your like. Oh, and don't forget to leave the VR game recommendations in the comments. So, see you on another video. Bye!